Now let's cross to Britain now, where a bid by the opposition Conservative Party to launch a new national inquiry into the grooming gangs scandal has been voted down by MPs. We're joined by Enda Brady, TV presenter at TRT World. And just for people maybe who haven't paid attention to this story, it's not a news story, but it has exploded again and become a huge issue over the last week in British politics.
It has, Shane. Good morning. So what happened, why it's so in the news at the moment, Elon Musk, of all people, has waded into this on social media, and he seems to have real beef with Keir Starmer. So Musk has taken to his social media platform and he has called out Starmer, and he has said that the phrase used is complicit in the rape of Britain. Now, what does he mean by that? Why is Musk using these words? Keir Starmer, of course, from 2008 to 2013, he was DPP here, the equivalent. He led the Crown Prosecution Service, the CPS. Now, over many, many years in English towns like Oldham in Greater Manchester, Rotherham in South Yorkshire, and Telford in Shropshire, there were pretty horrific crimes committed against young British children, and the men responsible are known as these grooming gangs. So that's why it's back in the news. And Musk is trying to turn up the pressure and the heat on the British Prime Minister for what he sees as a failure to prosecute these men.
Why did Labour vote against the idea of a national inquiry into these grooming gangs?
So it's the Conservatives who voted against it last night, but it wasn't carried. So basically the vote came in at 364 in favour of the bill going through, 111, which is predominantly the Conservative faction that's left in Parliament. So the Conservatives are trying to shoot down this bill. Starmer's pushing through with this children's welfare and schools bill, and he wants all the recommendations. There was a national inquiry here 2 years ago led by Professor Alexis Jay. She put forward 20 recommendations, and these recommendations form the bedrock of the bill that Starmer is trying to push through Parliament. So the Conservatives voted against it last night because they want a public inquiry. Now, Starmer is adamant that that will not help victims, that he has spoken to victims this week, and they've said to him that what they actually want are the recommendations put in place from the Jay report so that no other child in the UK has to suffer what they did. So Cammy Badenoch is now leader of the opposition, leader of the Conservatives. She's trying to push for a public inquiry because the Conservatives feel that if there is a public inquiry, this will cause huge embarrassment for Starmer and shine a light on his time as DPP here.
Is this story set to run for some time yet, do you think, Enda?
Look, I think in the normal political spectrum, prior to Elon Musk getting involved in British political affairs and chipping in with commentary from across the Atlantic, I would say normally this story would have maybe 24 more hours of news coverage. What we're likely to see at some point today when Elon Musk gets out of bed is probably more tweets, more commentary, and then the news cycle will go again. But I'd say Keir Starmer must be privately livid that his agenda here in the UK seems to be dictated and controlled by someone who's not even from this country.
To be fair to Starmer, his defenders would say when he was DPP, he actually pushed for big changes to the law arising out of this scandal.
Oh, he absolutely did. And, you know, as much as the Conservatives and people like Elon Musk are saying that, you know, he is complicit in people getting away with these crimes, these men were arrested in Rotherham, in Oldham, in Telford, all across England. These men were arrested, put on trial, convicted, and dozens of them are still in prison, serving very lengthy sentences. So I would say Keir Starmer this morning is privately livid that people are trying to paint him out as someone who basically sat on their hands and allowed this abuse to continue, because he absolutely didn't.
Enda Brady, TV presenter at TRT World. Thank you indeed for talking to Newstalk Breakfast this morning.